Thank you for tuning into our podcast today. If you are watching this on YouTube, enjoy. At about minute 30 or 47, you will see two people who are really trying to get used to videoing a podcast. So for about 15 minutes, we didn't realize that the camera was off. Anyways, the camera comes back on after that, so do not fret. And enjoy and share with your friends and rate and review and subscribe and comment and all the things. Hello.
Hi.
I hate that I start that way. Last time it was so bad. Hello. Hi.
Should we practice our soft girl voices?
Hey y'all.
Hi everybody.
Why is it that every blonde girl has the same exact voice? That's what I want to know.
That's such a stereotype.
No, but it's true. Every blonde, skinny bee
Skinny bee. No,
has the same high pitched, dragged out voice.
Oh, they say, "What did you do next year?"
What?
Why do they do that with their next? You know what I mean? They go next year. Do you know what I mean?
That I don't really do.
They do that.
I don't know.
Okay, we're already off to a bad start. Already not vibing.
Is this fine? My micro. I feel like it's way too far away. But you think it's totally fine?
Talk.
Hello.
If you want to put it a little bit closer, put it a little bit closer.
I'm just
we're registering the same. Wait, now talk.
Hello. This is good?
Yeah, this is good.
All right. Well, welcome back. Anything to share before we get straight into our topic? Or you want to just get right in?
I'm so curious about this documentary because you said you watched it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So me and Chai spoke Monday that I was going to choose a topic and figured it out. I didn't know. Monday night, I went to sleep. Well, before I went to sleep, I didn't know what topic we were going to do. I was really stressed. But then I have this habit of going, before going to sleep, scrolling on my phone and just finding something and till I fall asleep. It's really bad. I have to start. If anyone has any tips on how to just not be on your phone before you go to sleep, let me know. I know a friend of ours puts her phone on airplane mode for 30 minutes before she goes to sleep, but it's just not working for me. Me getting into bed and scrolling through my phone is one of the biggest comforts of my night.
Yeah.
Do you do that too?
I'm always on my phone before or watching something.
Yeah. Whatever. So I went onto Netflix. I was planning on watching New Girl. I wasn't gonna do anything crazy.
Another episode of New Girl.
Yeah. And then I happened upon this documentary. I just want to say whoever made that cover art for the documentary and whoever came up with the name, it was just really, really appealing. Also the trailer for it, it just made me want to click on it right away. So I watched it and I literally watched the entire thing that night.
Nice.
It's a mini series. So I think it was 5 episodes or something.
45 minutes an episode?
I think so, maybe an hour.
Wow. So you sat and watched 4 hours of it?
Yeah, I couldn't not finish it. So if you're planning on watching the thing, it's called Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey. And yeah, this is just gonna be a bunch of spoiler alerts. So basically it's about this community, a Mormon community, and they're called FLDS. Have you heard of them?
FLD? No.
No. So they're a type of Mormon religion that still keep polygamy, and where the guys marry a bunch of girls.
Where I thought most Mormons abide by polygamy. Yeah.
I think so what it said in the documentary was that the Mormon church banned polygamy, but this sect kept it.
Okay.
So it starts off by showing a few of these people who are ex I guess you would say
FLDS.
Ex-FLDS people. We say ex-Hasidish, but they're ex-FLDS people. And they were talking about their experience. And the first lady who talked, she said when she was in the community, the prophet, who they basically all follow and everything he says is true.
That's so creepy.
Yeah.
That they named him the prophet.
He's the prophet. And well, we have something similar, but we'll get into that soon. But he was basically something that everyone followed, and the main running theme throughout the whole documentary was the whole way they go about marriage. So the girls basically have zero choice in who they marry, and the guys don't either, but the prophet is the one who decides who gets to marry who.
Are they in America? Is this in America?
Yeah, so they're based in.
Like
they started
Ohio
out
or something.
in Utah.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was one of those.
Yeah, Utah's like where like all the Mormons are, or most of them. And this sect was in some place in Utah. I don't remember where. And then they spread out through like Texas and
Orlando,
Colorado, I think, other places. By the way, I just want to give a disclaimer that I had no idea like what the Mormon faith is. So like I have like zero like education on it, you know? So like I'm not here being like someone who like knows it and like knows the ins and out. All I know is that I watched a documentary and I was like legitimately shocked for life. So this girl, she's talking about like how she was like, I think 18, 19 years old, and she got called into the prophet's office and he squeezed her hand 3 times. And when he squeezed someone's hand 3 times, that means that he wanted to marry them.
Ooh, that is
and
creepy.
And he was, guess how old?
Like 70s, like in his 70s.
80 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's literally a picture of her like kissing him in like a wedding dress.
And
he's 80 and she's like 19 years old.
That is so sad.
It's literally so sad. But she talks about, and all the other people talk about how like they just believe that this was the truth. Like this is how you get into heaven. This is how you live eternally. Like this is the right thing to do. Because their parents are telling them that. Like everyone's telling them that. This is how they grew up. So she just believed this is true. Whatever. So that's just like the start of the documentary, but like throughout the entire thing.
Such a like joint failure on the part of the entire community that does that.
It's scary because, yeah, you could say it's a joint failure, but also I don't think the community people know better. So at what point in the documentary, like the FBI comes in and takes away all their kids because they believe that the kids were being sexually abused. So they come in and they like take all their kids away, and all the people are like screaming, crying, and the news is like interviewing them. They're like, "We're happy."
The FBI or the
I don't know.
Child Protective Service.
Oh yeah, Child. I don't know why I said FBI.
Like
yeah, the Child Protective Services. Yeah, probably something like that. But basically, like armed people coming in and taking their kids.
Right.
And which obviously, like, I don't think that was like that's very smart. Like, figure out another way to do it than just like grabbing kids away from their parents. But the people are like, the news is like interviewing them, and they're saying like, we're so happy, like, can't you see we're happy, like, give our kids back, like, people think this and that and the other. And like they're also interviewing like random people on the street who like have thoughts on it, and people are like, listen, we don't know, like they have their own faith, let them do what they want. So I think that like when you're grown up like that and like this is all you know, it's like they truly believe it. Like they're not trying to fake it. The parents are not trying to have control over these kids. Like they truly believe that this is the best thing for their kids, which is very scary to think. Yeah.
Still a failure, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, you've got to like, I don't know, demote some sort of responsibility intellectually as well to people who do these things. We're not in, I don't know, some crazy third world country. You don't have access to
might as well have
different
been
lifestyles.
They might as well have been because they're not exposed to anything outside.
Right.
They're not exposed to anything.
Well, are they? They're Mormon, right? So they don't like use any form of technology or anything like that. They don't. Right?
Yeah, literally, one of the girls were saying that she didn't even know who the president was.
Right.
They literally have no outside information, outside like view of what's going on, perspective on anything, which is another thing. Like you're like, do they even have a choice in the matter? Like,
right.
I think where it becomes a failure on them is once they found out that their prophet, basically at the end. Do you want me to say like where it finishes, or do you want to watch it?
I mean, I'll watch it, but you can go ahead and
spoil it. The end of the documentary is basically the prophet. So the prophet, this 8-year-old guy, he dies, and his son,
as old men do,
exactly, and they all believe that he's supposed to live forever. So they're like,
it's like a shock every time.
Every time I don't know how many.
He died again. Why do they keep dying?
But they have a loophole. What? They have a loophole out of it. They say that the next person takes over is like reincarnated.
Oh.
It's him like reborn again.
This is scarily accurate to what we believe. Like, I can't.
I know. Well, oh my God. But basically, like, they believe, so his son, so he had like tons of children because he married 65 girls.
Right. I wonder if he knew all his kids. you know.
I don't know. Well, they all live in one like community, like in one area. So I'm sure. I don't know. But one of his kids, they believed he was special, and he was like, because he was born like 8 weeks early, and he like had special and his mother,
the golden glow like Misha.
Yeah, exactly. Like his mother said, like he was like she would get like visions that he would survive. So like she believed he was special. So ever since he was like young, he obviously was a favorite. And then once his father died, they were saying like they were all by the funeral, and they're sitting there and they're like, he's not supposed to die. Who's gonna come out of the whatever? So that his son was like, I'm the one. It sounds like a bad like Beijing production, high school production. Comes out of the curtain. It's me. I was like, no. So they say that so he came up and he was like, it's me, and he's like, everyone, like, so all his like his wives, like the old prophet's wives, he was like, come forward if you're still my wife. Basically, he's like pretending to be his father. So strange, like retarded.
Wait, who was pretending to be whose father? Now I'm confused.
Okay, the son,
was
pretending to be like a reincarnated version of his father.
Yeah.
So he was so he was telling like his father's wives, like basically all his stepmothers, like
to marry him.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Ooh.
So he said but he was very like smart. Like they all say how he's very smart about it because he didn't like force anyone. He was just like, if you were worthy enough to get a vision that you're my wife, step forward. And like 16 women like stepped forward.
Wow, that is in deep. I don't even know how
There's
to
so
comment
much
on that.
more. So then at the end, the son basically they found the whole like recordings and stuff of how he like sexually raped girls, young girls, like 12 years old, 14 years old. But to them, it was like, at 14 years old, you get married. And like they did it like illegally out of the state. They wanted to make sure that the state would.
I wonder what the state laws, what the marriage laws in, what is it? What'd you say, Utah is? It like was what also, age? I think they sometimes they keep it like they're related. By the way, a lot of times,
right?
With the religion that's in the state, that's most prevalent in the state.
No, it was illegal because they were
at 12. I'm sure, but I'm wondering if it was
even
like 16
14,
or 18.
I think it was 18.
14.
18 is the age.
Okay, that's pretty progressive, I guess.
So yeah, pretty progressive. Yeah. So this one girl was saying how there's so much to say about it, but like there's one girl was saying that she was chosen to get married at 14, and she was like the younger sister of the girl who got married to like the older prophet. No, at 14 she was told she needed to get married, and she was like sobbing to her mother, like, please don't make me do this. And she even went into the prophet's like office and like cried to him, like, because she like really believed in him that he was like special. So like she would think that he would understand, and like he totally didn't. And he was like, too bad, you have to marry this person. I don't know, just like
it's just the way of
you can't believe like these heartless people. But then also like that's who I blame for all of it. Really, like this prophet guy. His name is Warren Jeff. Warren Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah.
He's like really the one who like just put these on these people. I don't know, like when you're teaching things for kids to kids when they're like so young and not giving them exposure or any like personal choice in anything, they all have to wear like the same exact clothing, like these whatever, all these things. It's like they're not gonna question it. I don't know, like very few people ran away from that life.
Yeah, it's kind of there's so many similarities living in, like I'm saying, a very closed off community, like thinking about them and us and what our
so like when I watched it, I was like very much comparing us to them, even though obviously we had differences. They would never be able to have their own podcast. Like I'm saying, like, there's so many differences, but like they're definitely
in the extremities, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So they're definitely like you watch this documentary and you're like, well, this is like how extreme we can get if things get out of hand, you know? You kind of see like the bad side of what we do.
You also see the negative aspects of belief. And right. How you could really just justify like, whatever the hell you want.
Right, exactly.
When you're just basing it off of.
And that's something that I brought up, that I wrote down, because so basically our whole topic is about like we're in a faith-based community where like religion is faith-based. You're doing things because you believe in this like higher power. And I was bringing up how like it's funny how we always learned, like people always brought up like rabbis that we learn from, and like even women teachers would say how like the Nazis is like a perfect example how logic can go too far, how you can like justify anything. But really it's the opposite point. It's really how complete obedience to this person that they deemed God, that's what brought the Nazis to do all the terrible stuff that they did. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, in a way. Did they say that with some like logic?
That's what we always taught.
Or
like
order.
No, like this is, we were always taught like this is how logic can mess you up because they justified what they did. It was very logical to them, you know? Maybe it was logical to Hitler, but all the people who like carried out all his plans were just completely obedient to him and weren't actually thinking of their own accord.
Gotcha.
So it's funny how it's like twisted. I don't know if you don't remember ever learning that.
Yeah, I do. It sounds familiar.
So that's just an interesting point. But like obviously, I have a lot of pros that I wrote down that I think is good with beliefs. So like I'm not just saying bad, but we'll probably just like go in order of bad and good. What I've been speaking for a while. What are your thoughts with like
this whole documentary?
First of all, documentary, yeah, but like parlaying it into the topic. Yeah.
First of all, just totally comparing both our communities, because it's interesting to just see how bad it could get, and how thankful, how lucky you are that you're not living that kind of experience. And when I was saying before about it being a failure on the part of people, like the older people, I don't know, maybe if that's the best way to view it, as like a failure, because there is so much that goes into it, and how much exposure these people had or whatever. And I don't know if it's like the view that will be the most helpful in the long run to like try to get this kind of thing to stop, because that's where my mind goes. It's like, okay, like that is something that needs to be rectified. That's bad. Yeah. Whatever it is, right? You can get into the whole deep stuff about belief and whether or not they're right, whether they're actually serving a right prophet or God or whatever. Right. We can all come to an agreement, and you should. If not, then I have you're wrong.
You're just wrong.
You're just wrong that these little girls shouldn't be forced to marry people they don't want to marry.
But it's scary because we know that, like looking from the outside, we're like, damn, that's crazy. How are they doing that? But in the inside, it's like, this is the right thing to do. And how many times do we do things, or we're told to do things because this is the right thing to do? Yeah. I don't like, it's scary to think about. I don't know how much we're doing things just because like we're told to.
You know what this really reminds me of? Have you ever seen, you're not a fan of Louis Theroux, right? The documentarian? No idea who that is.
Oh, he's the one, my money don't jiggle jiggle.
That's him. Okay. And you know what? He became famous for, everyone like knows him now from that.
You knew him for a while.
I hate being that like fan who's like, I was there before everyone else. But like I am in love with him. Like I love his documentaries. I love his brain.
Love in the moment, guys. You guys are witnessing it right here.
He's just brilliant. I love how he's so thoughtful. And he does these really interesting like documentaries where they're called, one of the series he has was Weekends with Louis Theroux, or Weird Weekends with Louis Theroux. And every documentary
would just be... You remember rap from the Weird Weekends?
That's exactly it.
Money don't jiggle jiggle.
It folds.
I like this.
Because that's the rap he did on one of the episodes of Weird Weekends. He went to like one of these, I don't know, ghetto places in New York or something, and like just explored the world of rap. And he like met pimps and people who are like totally justified with like prostituting women, and how like there's this one guy who like was literally a sociopath. He was just like, I don't care, these women, they want. I don't know what accent I'm doing, but like basically every single I was like, that didn't work. I don't care. That was not.
You like start like transitioning through like all the accents just to make sure you cover everyone.
So
these prostitutes.
So I don't offend anyone. All of a sudden he's Russian. He's English. He's prostitutes. Australian. I can't do an Australian accent. Can you do?
I might.
Yes, you try to say something. Tuna.
This tuna's really gay.
That you said the tuna's really gay.
Australian accents are hard to do.
I know. My sister Sarah's really good.
I don't know. It's just
Claire. You ever seen that show?
Yeah.
Chloe.
Yeah, no.
What did you just say?
Chloe.
Not Chloe.
Isn't it
Cleo?
Oh, it's Cleo.
Cleo.
Clear.
They like add an R in there.
Ner. Yeah, they add R's to everything.
Ner. Yeah.
Ner. Don't do that.
Don't do
My sister
that.
Yaga
That's all
actually
you
do a
have to
really good Australian. Should we call her in? She could do a really cool Australian accent. Okay, anyways, yeah. What were we saying?
Oh, Louis Theroux.
Yeah, Louis Theroux.
So one of the episodes I actually think I think he did an episode and then he did like a whole separate documentary on I think the title was The Most Hated Church Ever or something like that. And this is like this one church that just basically promotes hate and all the negativity that you could find in like the Bible, and just like constantly, like, they're famous for picketing, which is going to events. Let's say they go to funerals and hold up signs, and the signs say things like, repent, you're going to hell, fags are like, they're just like fat, like,
you see them all the time, like on Times Square, like in the city. I see them all.
I don't know if they're part of this specific church, but yeah, they're like probably along the lines of the same. One time I was like in Grand Central,
it was like silent, everyone's like minding their business, and we hear, heed the word of God.
Yeah.
Trying to like,
exactly.
Like, okay.
Exactly. So that's them, like them screaming, heed the word of God. And like and the documentary, basically, when you talk to these people, right? Because you're like, how can you really do this type of thing? Like, what's going on? Are you just like hateful people? Do you just hate everyone? And they're so convinced that they're actually doing a good thing by doing these kind of hateful behaviors, because whatever justification, this is the word of God. They're actually saving your soul. If not, you're going to be damned to hell, right? Like all their crazy beliefs that they're beliefs. How do you get, how do you convince someone out of something that is not, when you can't use convincing, because convincing is trying to use logic.
Well, have you ever seen that guy on Joe Rogan who he talks about how he like befriends these people that are part of the KKK, and he's black.
Oh, I love that guy.
And he talks about
Talk about someone who's like
that gives me chills.
Special.
Yeah, because that is different. That is like, everyone says like you can't convince someone if they're like in their own way, like they believe these things. But
right, that's what I was getting to, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I can think it's a failure and like look at these people and be like, you're sick.
Yeah.
But like it's the people like that guy who have it right. Where it's like, you're not going to reach anyone.
I wonder how we would infiltrate. Because, by the way, this group still exists.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I don't know, maybe I'm cynical, but they probably always will.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, until, the end of the universe.
End of the world.
Yeah. But then there's a really cool story about this church thing, though. There's a woman named Megan Phelps Roper, right? Like she got married, or Roger. I think Roper. She went Phelps Roper. Like when people connection. Do you know when people
Phelps Roper?
Oh, Phelps, and do you know when people like hyphenate
it? Okay, fine. That's right.
I love how you found that so darn funny. I'm probably gonna do that. I'm not gonna give up my last name. No,
you really want to keep Gurkov?
No, I'm so not attached. I have to marry a better last name. Does that ever? You're Cohen, so it's
Cohen is like so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
such a good last name.
I wonder if I'm going to change my last name. Like it'll be so weird to suddenly change it.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have to?
Like according to halacha, you're saying? I wonder. Anyways, Megan, right? She went on Joe Rogan. You should listen to her episode. Super interesting.
Megan Murphy. No, that's not her last name.
No, okay. Her last name is there's definitely no Murphy in there.
Because there's somebody that just went on Joe Rogan.
No. She went on a while ago.
I find her very annoying.
She's a comedian or something?
No, she's like a.
He brings on so many annoying comedians.
No, she's not a comedian. She's a like journalist.
Oh, Megan Murphy.
Honestly, like I shouldn't judge because like I'm guessing like going on Joe Rogan's really nerve wracking. Like I'd probably be like the most annoying person. Like just agreeing with all he says and like laughing at everything.
Oh my god, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, you're crazy. You're like the most listened to podcast.
Joe, I just want to say.
Yeah. Joe, I just who does that? I'm sorry, I know you look that sad, but he is literally the most sucky up guy I've ever. Like I have no respect.
But he does it with more like dignity than other people. He's like, Joe, I know I don't want to give you too much ego, but this, that, and the other. That helps when you say that.
Okay, yeah. No, it doesn't.
No?
No.
It's like an out? It's like an obvious out.
It's like him. It's even worse, really, because he's conscious of the fact that he's just inflating. I wonder, Joe doesn't seem like he has an ego. No.
He doesn't seem like he has an ego, and I'm sure he doesn't have like most people who are that famous. Like he's holding it together.
Very down to earth.
Yeah, but I'm sure he has a major ego.
You think he's lying? Like, you think he has some sort of humbleness just on the podcast? Like,
No. I think he's like, for somebody who's that famous, he's very humble. But there's no way he doesn't look around his life and be like, damn, like I built this, like I'm amazing, you know?
As he should.
Right.
So I don't think that's ego.
Right. I guess. I don't know. It's
well, maybe it is, but like
he knows he can
okay,
get whoever
ego?
he wants. Like,
is ego ever okay?
I think everyone, if we can get, maybe we should do this on another podcast. It's a whole other discussion, but I think everyone's selfish and egotistical.
You think?
I think humans are born like that.
Selfish.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Definitely.
Megan Phelps, Roper, Murphy.
dash.
dash.
But like, what is the end of the story? Yeah.
She. It's so funny because she is in these documentaries that Louis Theroux did as a
she's
kid.
the blonde girl.
She's not blonde.
Oh, okay.
She has brown hair.
Okay.
As not as a kid.
Identifying her slowly. Yeah.
Yeah. As like she's in the documentaries as like a teenager or whatever. I don't know, a young woman.
Okay.
And she's explaining to Louis their ways and their beliefs and how, you know, you're gonna go to hell. And I'm just coming. It's very creepy because they're all very intelligent. These people of this specific church, very, like, they have a very high vocabulary, and you can tell they all have like a very high intelligence, but they're just all like indoctrinated. So she escaped the church. Like, she escaped via Twitter. Right? Everyone says Twitter's a.
Oh, you told me about this. Yeah,
it's the most interesting story to me because, first of all, Twitter, right? Like, whoever thought something good comes out of Twitter.
Right.
She met her husband over Twitter and he convinced her out.
Wow.
This
maybe it's that guy from the podcast. What if it's like a full circle, like a big situation?
That'd be so nice.
Because who
What
else
a
to convince
story.
her besides for that guy?
That's what I'm saying. People who have it right. Like, people who don't look at these people and think like,
Exactly.
you're
messed
bad.
up already. Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
evil. I guess because maybe.
I wonder if this guy would be able to convince the prophet of this FLDS church that like raped girls. Would he be able to convince him that he's like.
Okay, well, some people are evil. Sorry.
Right? True.
Like Chaim Wilder.
Yeah.
Evil, right? Like, there's no, the guy who shot up that school.
Right.
Evil. Like, there are.
Is he evil or is he like mentally ill?
I don't know in this case.
I don't know. Like, I know it's like a
What's if he
dicey
wasn't?
line, but like.
What's if he wasn't, though? What's if he has a full capacity? Is that
I feel
evil?
like we'll have to research this.
No, I'm saying not.
But I
not
feel
that
like most
specific
people
guy.
who shoot up schools or like do those type of things are have mentally.
No, I love this discussion. I don't love this discussion, but I don't think it's fair to give them that out.
No, I get it, but like, are they?
They're not. They're not.
They're not. Okay.
Like, oh well, I'll tell you why I think that. It's according to Jordan Peterson that I have that kind of.
Well, Jordan Peterson
who says that basically when you're he says that when you're so resentful of everything, that's why he says keep your chin up, take everything on the chin kind of thing, and move on, and like try to remember the grateful things you have in life. Like, that's kind of his message. He's a very like simplistic message.
I'm like
at the end of the day.
beefing with Jordan Peterson right now.
Okay, tell me, but let me just finish his thought.
Yeah.
And he basically he talks about, because he did a whole like journey into the depths of evil quote unquote evil people's minds, and he came up with this theory basically that it's not so much psychosis or schizophrenia or these things that we blame people about for doing such insane crazy things to other people.
Yeah,
it's the fact that they feel like the world owed them something and people failed them and they were so resentful.
Who gets to that point?
A lot of
kill people.
A lot.
They don't have
enough.
any mental illness. That's shocking to me.
So what do you, okay, so then you want to get into it? What do you think would be like mentally ill then? Like what?
Any type of something that you could diagnose. Something like schizophrenia or paranoia or like any of these type of things.
So schizophrenia is actually a form of psychosis. That means that they're hearing things or seeing things that are not there.
Yeah.
So that's something that we can know about someone, right? And I mean, in the case of the shooter of Yuvaldat, he was not schizophrenic. Like, he never had that diagnosis.
But even like
sociopathy.
I don't know if that's how you say it.
So I don't think that's how you say it.
Sociopathy? Sociopathy?
That's definitely not it.
Whatever.
Got it.
Sociopaths, they're like born with something that's different from most people. Do you get what I'm saying? They're born with something.
Yeah, I definitely think that there is mental illness.
And I'm not saying that Like these people. So that's what makes it hard. Like, are they evil or are they mentally ill and they have a bunch of other stuff going? I don't know. It's like dicey territory, honestly.
The whole thing is.
Yeah.
And it's also free will and circumstance and what their life is.
Like, I know Jordan Peterson talks about like the Nazis and how any of us, like, we have to believe that any of us could have been a Nazi.
I agree.
But that's Nazis. But like Hitler, he was mentally insane. And people get upset at that because it's like kind of like an out, but it's not an out. This podcast is sponsored by Talking Photography. She has an amazing studio. Go check her out on her Instagram. She is New York based, and she'll do newborn photography, family photography. Check her out on Instagram at Talking Photography, and on her website, talkingphotographystudios.com, to see her rates and to book a session now. Thank you, Talking Photography.
Oh, you know who talks about this? Brett Weinstein. He like really almost died on this hill for this on Joe Rogan. Actually,
that Hitler's not mentally.
Yeah. That in fact he followed like a very rational evolutionary code to like purify and
but
cleanse.
not having any empathy. That's mentally ill in a certain sense.
Who said he didn't have empathy?
If you are like sitting there and being like, I'm gonna kill people because we need to have the perfect race, you don't have any empathy. You don't like, you know. I don't know. Could you have empathy, selective empathy? Because I'm sure he had empathy for the people he deemed blonde, blue eyes.
Literally. Ugh, I don't want to talk about Hitler. Why are we talking about him?
I don't know. Okay, let's move on. No, but what I was going to say about Jordan Peterson.
Love him.
Beefing with him, like real beef, Jordan.
Why?
Okay,
the sports swim thing.
Yes.
Oh my God, Kate. Good, I agree with you.
Fudge and half.
Actual fudge and half.
What did I say?
Is that what you said? Because I agree. Jordan, like you're beyond that. You're above that. That's so clickbaity.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. What is wrong with you? Like he's a smart guy. He usually says things that you're like, damn, that's true. That's out of the box. This is like so with like the right side of thinking of things.
I was so confused by
like
this
Ben
direction.
Shapiro, like that's like
no. I was so confused. It felt like I was watching, I don't know, the equivalent of like an SJW for the right side. Yeah. And Jordan Peterson always stood for me as like
a like objective kind of.
Not even objective, not even someone who's like so involved with politics as much as like literally attacking like the deepest, rootest problem in problems in society.
I think it's getting to him a little bit. I think it's getting to his head a little bit. Well, I should probably explain what happened. There was a Sports Illustrated that they featured like more of a curvier model. In a swimsuit.
Overweight.
Yeah, she was, I mean, what do you consider? Yeah, she was, I guess, like, considered, like, medically, she was overweight. And
I guess, like, I don't know, like, visually,
she looked good. Like, I didn't think she looked bad. Like, it was, like...
But that's the thing, right? Like, that's the argument. It's because, like...
No, but okay, but let me just explain.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson tweeted out, like, sorry, not beautiful.
Right.
And then he, like...
Not pretty or something.
He said not beautiful.
Not beautiful,
he doubled down by saying that, like... This is not considered beautiful. This is not considered athletic. I'm sorry. Somebody who's the typical
it was a Sports Illustrated,
ones,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ones that are considered like more, the ones that we see that are normally like skinny and like all that stuff, whatever, they're more beautiful. They're more athletic. They have more to show. You can't just like, you're lying to these people. You're manipulating, you're exploiting these people by telling them they're beautiful. Oh my God. It's like, it's the most gaslighty thing I've like ever. It's so, yeah, but sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I don't know. I just got
like,
lost in your very impassioned speech.
I'm just
really
like to
agree.
say like, yeah, it's not as athletic as someone who's skinny. They probably can't run as fast as somebody who's skinnier. That doesn't mean that it's not beautiful. And that doesn't mean that the skinny people on Sports Illustrated are healthy either. You don't think they like literally like Photoshop the whole thing or maybe they starve for days just to take that photo shoot? Like that doesn't mean they're healthy people either. Having a little bit of fat on you is okay.
Yes.
But like,
I also took so many qualms with like the fact that he said no, not beautiful.
Not beautiful.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to say no, not healthy. No, not Sports Illustrated. No, not.
But also, who cares?
I don't know.
So this girl who's a little curvier, probably struggles with weight her entire life, got to be on Sports Illustrated cover. Good for her. Like, why are you tearing another person down?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I agree with you, like, totally, like, not in theory, in practicality, but I think he probably has a very, like, understandable breakdown of why he attacks this issue. And probably something along the lines of trying to erase any, like labels that we have, or like understanding of what, you know, what's healthy, or what like a, you know what I mean, like which is, you know, it's like a game the left likes to play a lot.
Like I agree with like the fact that like we should be honest with people if they're unhealthy. So if somebody weighs like 400 pounds, 300 pounds, like tell them straight up. Don't try to be like you're beautiful no matter what. Like I think Lizzo's taking it too far.
I don't.
Okay, so that's probably what
I love her.
Whatever. I don't really follow her that much, but I'm saying
because I'm also like of the opinion that we're a health conscious society. Like whatever we really are. Like I feel like so many more people are like getting in tuned with like what their body feels and you know, what foods work with them and which diets. But at the same time, like we also don't like a really, really fat person can have a healthy life. Does that make sense? Can they not? Like I'm saying, you know those stories where it's like someone who's like 90 and they've been smoking all their life and they ate whatever shit they wanted.
Yeah.
And they're living, and then like the vegan who bikes every day dies at like 50, you know?
Those are like extreme scenarios.
True. So I can't really use that.
But
even
also
though I always
like
use that as a template.
Like she could be healthy, but she's probably not. If you're that big. Like I get it. Some people like when it comes to like certain weight classes, like some people are trying really hard and they just can't, they're not going to be like the 120, 110, you know? People are not built, some people are built more broadly, more curvier. That's like one thing where I'm like, stop. Why are you comparing two bodies just because one has like a completely flat stomach and one's a little bit more curvier, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I guess he's probably trying to like fight back the like fat shaming idea where like you can't fat shame.
Yeah. So, exactly. The fat phobia movement and things
just
like that. Just
the way he went about it was really bad.
I totally agree.
Don't like.
I also think like, for God's sake, we have an epidemic, okay, of self like insecurity in women, okay, and if we are trying to change that goddamn message just a little bit, right, especially to people who are overweight, who I feel like is probably such a source of like shame and discomfort, and like to get to a place where you're okay with the way your body looks naturally because you're eating to satiate yourself, right? And that's how much weight you've gained. Like, and if we're trying to promote a message of positivity and acceptance and yes, you're beautiful like that, then oh my God, what is wrong with that?
But he's not. I get it. Like trying to, like people are going to feel better when they're healthier. People say this all the time. Like, I just want to enjoy, and I say that to myself all the time as well. I just want to enjoy my life. Let me eat whatever I want. Like, why I'm going to spend my entire time like measuring my food, doing all these stuff. Like that makes life so much less enjoyable. At the end of the day, you're gonna live life so much more enjoyable. But when you eat healthy and when you do all this stuff, I think it should be less about the body and more educating on how people could be healthy. I guess, you know.
Yes, but it's right. It's all about how you go about the messaging, or how you go about like educating or teaching that, or like using that as much. Like, okay, here's what I think. For the longest time, we've always been just like telling people or like trying or shaming people, right? In a way because we just don't like accept that kind of body. Like, I don't know. It's so confusing to me, this whole thing.
It's very confusing because I'm also like, if I see somebody. Listen, if my own kid was like overweight, I'd be worried, right? Yeah. But you also don't want to instill in them like this insecurity. People talk about this all the time where like their family was obsessed with them like losing weight, that they how do you say it? They developed a eating disorder. Mm-hmm. Like there has to be that balance. And like both are so extreme. The left with like their whole like everybody's beautiful no matter what. Like, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, you're not going to get a really good looking guy if you're 400 pounds. And if that's fine by you, that's fine by you. But you can't go around being like, men are so shallow. It's just the way like the world works. Like people want other healthy people.
Yeah.
And if you're 300, 400 pounds, you're not healthy.
Right. I guess what the right really takes problem with is celebrating things that they think are like wrong, you know what I mean? Which is like the justification that they use for when there's gay people and when, you know what I mean? Like
whenever something's like really woke, it's like, hey, why are we like so sensitive? Let's be tough. I feel like that's where it comes in.
Whatever it is, like I had this conversation in my college class where my professor was basically saying how representation matters, which is basically just like a message you hear from the left all the time. Representation matters.
Yeah.
But when you really, really think about it, It really does.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Seeing somebody who is plus size or seeing somebody who's like has fat, real fat. We're not talking about like, I always hated those movies that had like the quote unquote ugly duckling girl who like turns beautiful and is always beautiful from the start. Right. Like if you're going to do that, get someone who's like actually.
Like Princess Diaries? No.
Yeah. Princess Diaries. Like she's like Anne Hathaway. You kidding me? What? So you make her a frizzy hair and glasses?
Well, glasses are ugly. I always wanted glasses when I was a kid.
Literally.
Excuse me.
Like, are you kidding me? So it's just, and if you're going to see that, and then, you know, I don't know, and then feel a little bit more okay with the body you're in, while also obviously acknowledging that, because that, I feel like that message is never going to leave, right? Nobody who's like seriously overweight, I think if you're healthy, wants to stay that way. It's just like, you want to love yourself. And you don't want to constantly look at yourself and think that there's something that you have to change.
So I think I think if you're, deep. This is like, it's very complicated too, but I think that like, if you're working out enough, like you go see a nutritionist and you figure out how much you need to work out and you're eating like the good foods, you're not like eating junk all day and it's okay if like you do it once in a while, but like you're eating the food.
Junk is the good food.
No, but like you're eating like good food for your body and you're still a little bit fat, like based on like what we consider fat, then I think like you just have to work on like accepting this is how your body is and someone will love you for the body because you're doing everything right. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to be 300 pounds if you're working out and you're eating healthy. You might be
fine
180. You might be 200. Depends. Like it depends on how many muscles you have. Like it all depends. Like everyone's different, you know.
So it totally depends.
So like,
I don't know. You know what? I also think that like, okay, obviously this specific example was within the domain of modeling and like that and vanity, right? And how you look. But I really think our culture could absolutely use a shift to like, okay, you look the way you look. Do you know what I mean? And try to make however you look the best. But like people are way more than that. And don't focus on that so much.
I think that's impractical.
I don't know if it's impractical, but that's to me what maturing is. It's like everyone wants to look good and you should try to look your best. But like, see, like that kind of craze of like, going to nutritionists and eating right and doing all that stuff. I don't know how healthy that is in and of itself.
Yeah.
As much as like accepting the 10 extra pounds that you have and maybe having some fat on your thighs and bellies.
No, listen, accepting 10 extra pounds.
10 bellies.
10 extra pounds on each belly. on each chin. Just like my chin. Whatever. Like, let me just keep those 5 extra pounds on my 10 chins. No, I think once it becomes an obsession, then it's unhealthy. I'm talking about like taking the basic precautions, like figuring out like what's a healthy amount of calories to eat every day, or figuring out what are the nutrients that you need to be putting in your body every day. And then like you're good. Like relax. Work out. Definitely work out. Like workout is one of the biggest things. Doesn't mean you're gonna like become tiny just because you work out, but you're keeping your body healthy.
But that's a completely different mental shift is what I'm saying. Wanting to be healthy to like, because it's healthy to work out and it's good for your mind. It gives you endorphins. It gives you, I don't know, just good. It's good for you, right?
Yeah.
Longevity and muscle and your joints. All of these good things that you get from exercise is a completely different reason for exercising and working out and keeping healthy than doing it because you want to look a certain way. And I just think that we could use that shift so much. And if that's the case, then you can never judge anyone, by the way. Because you can't look at someone who's like really fat or bigger and say, oh, they're not healthy. Because what's if they are in all those, like they're checking off all the boxes for the healthy things. Which happens. Which happens all the time.
I think like when it comes to like really, really
Stop
big
judging.
Is what I'm talking about.
Right.
Then you know.
Well, also, but that's not, I mean, we're in New York, but like how often do you see someone who's seriously obese?
I see it.
I don't.
You really don't? You
like seriously obese?
I mean, when we went like road tripping like in the West Coast, it was like way more.
Like different, yeah. when we went to Utah. Full circle. All right.
It was Utah. What else? Okay, we need to like talk about this topic. We totally went off. Okay. I wrote like a few prompts.
But also, like, can we just one more thing about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Me and Rivka have arguments all the time about like what's pretty and what's not. But like, we really do believe that like most women are just really, really pretty.
Speak for yourself.
That's stupid.
Speak for yourself.
No.
I'm joking.
No, like, I feel like just, I don't know.
I just think, like,
No matter what, like, I always just think people are so, like, pretty and,
the
like,
truth
bodies
is, like,
are gorgeous. No matter, like,
I don't really think like girls. Like, I'm saying, like, the truth is what happens is that, like, when I meet someone, no matter
the
how
variety.
gorgeous they are,
Variety.
if they're, like, not a good person, then I'm like, I don't even think
It doesn't even register.
But then, like, you think about the opposite gender, and for them, it's totally different. The opposite gender.
That's why we're not talking about boys. We're just talking about girls.
Yeah, so for me, like, if somebody's, like, gorgeous and then, like, they're totally, like...
Stop moving the table.
Sorry.
I said it in a different voice to not make it as harsh. But yeah.
Table.
In the opposite gender, if they're an asshole.
The opposite
like,
gender...
okay.
No.
What's if they're gorgeous?
No, that's
and
not what you got. No, wait. You got
then
the wrong
what?
thing. Then it's like, what are you going to do?
Then it's literally, what are you going to do? Wait, is it an hour? It probably shut off.
Fudge. 45 minutes. Oh, I'm so annoyed.
It's fine.
Okay, we'll just put our logo for that.
Did you do that last time?
Yeah. Okay, it's recording again. Anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, moly my legs. What?
Don't put it because it's going to shake the mic. Your feet.
I'll just fold my feet and die.
And die?
My feet have to be
drastic.
might have to be amputated. God forbid. You got the wrong point. What I was saying was,
No, did I? Okay.
if I see a woman, a girl,
man,
and she's very pretty, but she's absolutely a
horrendous,
despicable human being,
oh my gosh, annoying as hell.
I will not care how pretty she is. But opposite genders, like males, will see a woman, and if they have I think they'll have a harder time like discerning, like, oh, she's pretty, but she's really
You know what I realized also?
Yeah.
True. Great point, Rivka. Really
just
valid.
like shooting them points out today.
But if I see a guy that really only cares about like the way people look and treats women differently because they don't find them attractive or because you don't find them like initially attractive, I have no respect.
Oh, for sure.
It's like an automatic, you're an automatic red flag.
No.
Because it's like, oh wow, that's your highest value. Clearly, that's sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's just you're living life wrong if you're doing that. Sorry.
Yeah.
You just are.
You're just immature, really. It's immaturity. Like, I think people can grow out of that for sure.
I don't know about that.
Should we get back to our topic?
Sure, we have like 15 minutes left.
We can go longer than an hour.
Probably should stick to an hour.
I think we can go longer than an hour.
Although I'm also being picked up.
Right. Okay, whenever
So-
you get picked up, then we'll stop. But we'll wrap up.
Yeah, let me.
So anyways, a few like discussion points that I wrote down. Are we given tools to think for ourselves? As much as we live in a religious community, do you believe that you're given enough tools in this community to think for yourself?
What do you think?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, it's just like a hard question. Am I given enough tools to think for myself?
Do you think?
Being that I do think for myself,
And that's like already, like the proof is in the pudding. Type of
the
thing.
kind of the proof is in the pudding. But I don't know if I can attribute it like to my community. I don't know how much I can attribute to my community because also I'm not really sure what I could isolate that has influenced me. If that makes sense. I'm like a composite of
No
so
one
many
can,
things.
really, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the internet
was-
for sure is a huge, like all these thought leaders that I love, like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, and
Right.
I don't know,
They're
listening-
not religious people. And
they're not religious
they're
people.
putting other ideas in your
the
head.
Rebbe himself.
Yeah.
I just think the one and only the Rebbe himself. I don't know why I said it like that.
It sounded like he was like about to walk through the
Imagine.
Creepy.
No, I don't. But that's what they teach you in high school. Always
what?
imagine the Rebbe walking
No,
in.
imagine the Rebbe like with you at all times.
But that's not normal. Like
No?
I don't want to think that. That's awful.
Why? Because it's like just like
That's
you
too
feel
much.
guilty.
I'll feel like I'm just doing everything. I don't know.
Right.
How do you?
I think,
he's
like-
such a holy guy.
Yeah. I think some people like put a little bit of like unhealthy stuff in their heads.
Ideas.
But like the Rebbe like
There you go.
but then what is the difference? Like, oh my gosh, like
Oh
I go
my-
into like a
there you
million
go.
like knock on woods, but like what is the difference between the Rebbe and like someone like these people, their prophet type of thing?
What is the difference between them?
Like ideologically.
Okay, not
besides for like their
actions,
actions.
I feel it feels even so wrong to even compare.
I know. Blah.
We're not doing that, but we're gonna do it like hypothetically.
What's the comparison?
Wait, how I right?
Like literally, like okay,
in the most abstract way.
All I'm saying is that we believe that the Rebbe was this prophet, right? And we still like people still talk about how like he lives on, but spiritually with us, and you can still.
And then there are those people that think he lives on physically too.
Yeah, there are people, but I think that's like out of the norm, kind of.
That is super out of the norm.
So like majority of people like believe that like you can still like get guidance from him, like those type of things, which is not normal in like the secular community. If they hear that, they're like, are you guys okay? You know. So
to the extent that you have so much belief in this one person and the words that he tells you, that you'll literally just do them despite you feeling that this is not the right thing for you. It's pretty similar.
Right. But that's on the peoples. Meaning, did the Rebbe ever like force people to do things? I don't think so. Like I think he gave advice. Yeah, like I think he always gave advice to people, and people believed him so much that they would just like do it, you know?
Yeah.
No matter what.
I also don't think, I mean, okay. Okay, sorry. Total conversation having in my head. Yeah. I was just like, Rivka's agreeing with me. Let us in. Like, I'm saying, I don't think the Rebbe would really give advice that was hurtful or harmful to another person. But then there's literally like an example so close to like my family that was actually not, like, the benefits obviously were there because I wonder if I can share this story.
Probably not. Probably better not. No. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Well, I just feel like I can. Well, I guess I won't. But I guess I'll ask first and see if I could share this story I can share. But basically, the decision, there were a lot of negative outcomes from this decision that people did because the Rebbe informed them that it was the right one. Yeah. So I know everyone likes to think that like all these miracles happen. We tout those stories, and those are the ones that we keep hearing about. Like, yeah. But what about those stories that aren't the best?
And I just want to say, like, people say these days as well, like, people write into the Rebbe and like will like seek advice and try to like open his letters from the past to try to see if like it relates to what they're trying to ask today. But I've heard a lot of people say like, just because you get an answer that like relates to what you're asking doesn't mean it's what you should do. You should really like take it into account, but like figure out for yourself. So I do think that we're taught to like think on our own. But besides for that, so that was just like one point of it. But like just in general, like we're grown up like with certain ideas and we're like in such a comfort zone, like being here. I think it's very similar to this FLDS community where like all those women were like in this comfort zone. This is all they knew. And like the outside world is so scary. Like, yeah, why would they want to be in the outside world? There's like so much to discover. Like you don't know how to navigate yourself like that. You're totally, totally dependent on this community that you have. As horrible as we see it, it's like, that's what they are. So are we in any way like that? Or even just having a belief system, does that put you in that space?
So my automatic thought went to the like Hasidic communities, where it's like there's such a spectrum of what's the word?
Orthodox?
No, insularity. Like there's such a spectrum of how much exposure is allowed in a certain community. So when it comes to like us comparing to FLDS or a Hasidic community in Borough Park, we're practically secular.
True. I mean,
we really have as much exposure as anyone else. We don't have anyone else in the world, I'm saying, in America, maybe, in a secular community. Yeah. We don't have maybe we don't have as much experiences because of certain like because of our belief system has limited us to like being in like this closed way of living, right? But I don't think we're like limited in like what we're allowed to be exposed to in terms of media and like internet and other thoughts.
I mean, even
and questions. We're always
Right.
allowed to question.
Yeah.
And we are encouraging
That was
questions.
one of the biggest like things that we like kind of pride ourselves on versus other Orthodox communities where they would talk about how like asking questions was bad. Like how, oh, so you're doubting your faith now? Like how could you? They would blame it on the person. Versus us, like asking questions was great. Like let's figure it out. Let's get to the bottom of it. I mean, depends. Some people are very old school and like don't like questions, but I think for the most part we were raised to be able to ask for sure.
I remember so many like bring-ins when I went to and asking the rabbis, like, you know, about faith and having trouble believing in God and what's if I don't believe in God and all that. And all of their responses were very much like the same, as in like, I can't convince you when it just comes to faith.
Yeah.
And you're a Jew and will always have that faith, even if you don't really feel it. But it was never discouraging. It was never like, you're bad for asking this. It was always actually the opposite, where it's like them saying every person should go through that. Every person should go through a phase where you're questioning just beliefs that you've always had from childbirth, from childhood. So.
And I also remember it being a discussion though about how like in Chabad, there's so many more people who kind of leave the community and become not religious. And why that is. And
compared
like,
to what?
Compared to like more extreme Orthodox communities where all of them like stay with their belief, and like they have so much of a stronger like bittul, which is like nullification of your ego, where they just like do what they're told, and somehow like that made them like better than us in a way. But like now it's like so clear that it's like if you're trying to give somebody the tools to really choose what they want to do, then when they do choose the way that like you don't necessarily want them to, you have to accept it because you want them to choose. And when someone does choose like the religious path,
maybe they don't really want us to choose.
Well, I think that's a flaw that we find in people, which is fine, it makes sense, but like they don't want you to choose something that's like out of what they think, you know, especially when you're raising your own children. But I think that's a good thing that we have, where like you could ask, you are exposed to other things. I mean, just in Chabad, we're like spread out all over the world. Wherever you go, we're with people, secular communities. We engage with that, so we can see how other people live and we can think for ourselves. Okay, zooming out like even more, like besides for our community, like, wait, let me think how I'm like gonna phrase this question.
Sure.
No, I don't really have a question.
Okay.
But I wrote like a bunch of things. Anything else that you wanted to share?
To share on this specific?
Yeah.
No, I again, like, I don't really know. I guess there is a big part of our education that encourages questioning and wanting you to think for yourself in a way.
Yeah. But any like, you don't feel like stifled in any way to like think for yourself?
Do I feel stifled to think for myself? What do you mean by that?
To like choose your own path in life type of thing.
I think what we said before about people giving you that courtesy because they want they know that's the right thing to do, but also they have such belief that their way of life or their beliefs are right, and so when you don't abide by their beliefs and they feel like you're doing the wrong thing, so at the end of the day it's like, yeah, you did something that you thought was right by giving me the courtesy to be like, feel it out, see if this is right?
Yeah,
see if this is right, quote unquote, but like it is right, and so just like get over it and pick it. I feel like that's there very much.
That's like that like unspoken thing.
Yeah,
people will judge you.
It's not like path. Right. It's not like a terrain where it's like, here's your two footings or here's your different footings and they're all equal and we accept you no matter what.
And that's the whole thing with this documentary, is that like they gave them an out. They only were able to like go in there.
Oh, right. They do that, right?
Oh, that's with Amish.
Oh my gosh. I was getting so confused between Amish and Mormons. Right. Rumspringa.
Yeah. So that's, by the way, that's another thing. Like that's related to the point that I'm about to say. But like they kind of went in there and like you could come out like the security got him, not security, like I don't know how to, police, I guess, like the government got involved, the state got involved. So they were able to like plead their case and say like, I'm trapped in here, help me out. And they would have gotten out. But these people were saying like, we're happy, we're good here.
Yeah.
So that's really the point where I'm trying to bring up, where it's like, do we not even realize that we're indoctrinated? Do people not even realize that they're indoctrinated?
Yeah.
And they choose to stay because it's just such a comfort zone.
Yeah. It's an interesting point to discuss. I think it's real.
Yeah.
I think you could know better about a situation. Like, if you're more informed, or if you're more educated, or if you're not in a circumstance where like that's happening to you, like you can look at a relationship, let's say, that's abusive and say that's an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And the person who is in the relationship not realize it's an abusive relationship.
Right.
You can have that knowledge.
Yeah.
So is that a real thing? Absolutely.
Right.
Because you're not tied down to like these beliefs, or I don't know, or just not knowing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think the abusive relationship is a really good example, because you have people who go back to the abusive relationship because it's all they know. Mm-hmm. And people are telling them to. I remember my teacher's always stuck with me. My psychology teacher told me she had this client who was like being abused, and she went to therapy for a long time. And in the end, she chose to stay with this guy.
Yeah.
Which is like so terrible. But like people do that.
It's so scary to think about it as like just like a type of, I feel like it's a type of like indentation in your brain or your body makeup.
Yeah.
That like this is just,
your perspective is so limited.
It's so unfair. It's just unfair that you're dealt that hand and you have to deal with the consequences of it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Like it's probably because you witnessed an abusive relationship between your parents. There's usually something that happens to you that causes you to be attracted to someone who's abusive, and then like stay in that relationship.
Yeah, maybe we don't give enough credit to people who like work themselves out of that problem. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But also but I think with like us, because we're given exposure, like we are given enough exposure for sure. I think staying in our comfort zone is definitely a thing, but it's not as like, well, these people are helpless than these people in this community of the documentary, because they like totally no exposure. And like, even when they had proof that their prophet was like raping girls, they're like, he's amazing. They would like keep in touch with him. They would go visit him in jail, and like he would speak to them, and they would like write down things and like tell it over to the community. Just scary stuff. Okay, so we can conclude. So what's your conclusion of all this? Or do you want me to conclude?
Yeah, go ahead if you have a conclusion.
Just conclusion, I think, is that like, I think belief, it can get scary, and it can get to the point of like literally not realizing that you're in an abusive state, like you have no choice over your actions, and that's really scary. But at the same time, just logic and like no belief in anything, you're going to end up being a slave to something. Like that's something else I wrote down. Like either you're a slave to your desires and to like what other people that you deem authority, that's who you're going to be a slave to, or you're going to be a slave to like this higher power that you believe is true. So which one, so belief and faith I think is really important, but it could be scary sometimes when it's taken to the extreme of like no exposure. So maybe maybe the conclusion is exposure is the key. Like,
I don't know. I don't know if we've ever gotten this deep. And I feel like this is not like the only podcast that we should do on this kind of topic, just because there's so many like massive discussion points, and just like your conclusion alone about belief and and exposure and reason and like what you should, how you could be a good person. All of these things are just wrapped up basically.
Yeah, there's a lot in it.
But like,
so what, like, I guess shorter version is like, what? I'm having a hard time like breaking it down.
No, what I would say about this is that I am a very big fan of critical thinking.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most under like under talked about or like skill set that people just don't have. And when I say critically thinking, I mean like actually learning, I don't know, how to build a rational argument in your head, how to like take apart something that somebody has said and actually like find out what like the truth, and the truth in the sense that we could know the truth. So not really when we're talking about like, I don't know, God and like the universe and all of those like existential questions, but I'm talking about, let's say, anything that you can actually like break down, any statement that somebody said. That critically thinking, I think, is super important, and that should come into play into anything, and anything that somebody is telling you. And I know that's like crazy because can't really. It's hard to like put that much pressure on everything.
Yeah, like you kind of just gotta live your life sometimes.
Yeah, but when you're going about
like
your
forming
day,
an opinion about something,
yeah,
just be open to everything.
Yes,
but like, I don't know, it gets hard when like. Because, like, when you're, the best example that I could think about this is, like, with a parent and child, where, like, a parent can't give free reign to a child to do whatever they want. They're gonna turn out, like, messed up. They're not gonna be healthy. At the same time, you have to give your child, like, discipline and direction, but give them, like, opportunities to express themselves and be their own individual. So it's both, you know? And I also think what's really cool to think about is that belief, a lot of times we talk about how like belief and faith is like your godly soul. But I think it can turn into an animal soul when it just when it's not paired with logic. Do you get what I'm saying? It could turn into complete instinct, like animal instinct, and just doing what's comfortable and not pushing yourself. And I don't think that's godly soul.
Oh, I love that. That's such an interesting
at all. Idea. Yeah, like I think it very easily. So it's kind of a cop-out for people where they're like, yeah, I'm just doing what I'm told, you know, like that's all I'm doing what I'm told, and this is like what's natural to me. So obviously like I'm just
comfortable.
I'm just like a holy person, you know, I could just do whatever. But then you have people who like truly work on themselves all the time and think about like how they can be better. And I think that's way more coming from a godly soul.
Not only that, right? Like people who think about all the things that they're doing and try to be a better person, let's say, but actually found that through their thought process that this kind of belief doesn't make sense, or whatever belief that you have doesn't make sense for them, not for them in like the most objective sense.
Yeah,
they don't believe, but they still have a moral code. They still have a moral system, right? They still try to be the best person that they can, and that to me is more, I guess, right? I guess you can say more important than just blind faith and doing whatever. Because it's scarier. It's a hell of a lot scarier to think of that kind of what outcome can come from people who just don't think.
Right.
Who just abide by like whatever is safe and whatever they know because it's just around them, versus somebody who's like doing things consciously.
Yeah. And
thought out.
It's like a slippery slope.
I guess it's more of a radical opinion, but what were you going to say?
I was going to say, but then like if you're just questioning everything, like we know there's people who like are constantly just questioning everything. Like sometimes it is too much, you know? Sometimes you do like be humble to like, maybe some people do know what they're talking about. I don't know. Be logical with what you believe, I guess. If that makes sense.
I'm kind of like, don't believe. Try to know.
You can't know. Like if you
you can.
If you're like we call it belief of God. Like you can't really know if there's a God or if there's a Big Bang Theory or like what started this world or like who decides what's moral or not.
But that's the thing. If you really want to know, try to figure it out. Right? I respect anyone 100% more of the time if they're like on a journey to try to figure out, is there really this God?
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus somebody who just believes.
But everyone's going to come to the conclusion of, I don't know.
No, not necessarily. Some people come to the conclusion of, no, there isn't. Some people come to the conclusion of, yes, there is. You come to different conclusions.
No one can fully say, yes, there is a God, yet no, there's not a God. You can't. How are you supposed to know when there's no like proof in front of your eyes? We're too limited as people to know like what's out there.
Well, also you have to. Oh my God, we're literally getting.
No, but like
we're getting to the God discussion at the end of our podcast. But like you could know stuff, right? That I mean, well, insofar as our the scientific method works, where we're trying to
the scientific method cannot go down
and you break it down, right? But that's always questioning. That's what I'm saying. Always not. It's not belief. Like skepticism and belief are two opposite foundations for knowing stuff. Belief is knowing something with ginormous leaps, with no evidence or no bridges to what you actually know.
And
it's
I think there's room for
unrestrained
harmonizing
knowledge.
the both.
I think there has to be
skepticism,
right?
and I don't think
that's how we live.
Yeah, like you can't actually know. It's funny to me when people are like, "So do you think there's aliens?" Like, of course there's aliens. Do you know how big the world is? I can use that same exact argument for why there's a God, but those same people won't believe in a God. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many explanations people can bring up for things, and like there's just no way of knowing. So
everything is possible, but, and like this is, if you're going to talk about the God thing or even aliens or something like this, there are like fields of study and people who have dedicated their life to trying to figure out whether or not these are answerable questions, even first and foremost. And if you're really curious, right, this is the topic of our discussion, then do the hard work and figure it out. Seriously. Or try to figure it out.
Yeah, but I think that's also scary to like think too much to like cancel out belief in your life, because I like maybe
I don't think it is.
What am I trying to say?
I mean, it is if you're a Jew.
Yeah, but I'm saying like what the whole idea of God.
Can you have belief? Can you be a moral person without like, well, sorry, I totally
like a higher power.
Saying. Yeah, like is that what you're saying? Like, is that scary to
you? Kind of, yeah, that's part of it.
Oh, okay.
Like, how do we have a higher power? But I know like Sam Harris? What's his last name?
You don't know, like,
Sam
my
Harrison?
favorite? No, just Harris.
Like, is that what he talks about? Like how we could have morals without?
I mean, he has like 5 different, like 7-hour debates with Jordan Peterson about it.
And what's his like basic thing? Do you know?
Obviously, we can.
No,
you can be a moral person without.
How? Like, how do we?
Oh, how can you be a moral person with
just
these
like
things?
Social stuff, like we know.
He uses a lot of like
evolution.
No, not really evolution, but that we can build an objective, like we can build an objective place where we know what's good and bad without having to. It's not like it's not a religious landscape. Like that's what Jordan Peterson brings it back to always make. It has to be religious because is good and bad something that you can be like objective, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? Am I making any sense? Or is it like hard to understand? Because it's
meaning good and bad can very easily become like arbitrary if it's in like us humans' hands. So there has to be like this higher power that makes it objective.
Exactly.
Right.
So and that's a religious landscape, is what Jordan Peterson says. That's exactly what religion is. And so he tells Sam Harris, how are you making the argument that like good and bad is not basically subjective. It's not like everyone has their own good and bad, right? Without making it religious.
Right.
And Sam Harris basically can't answer that question.
What's his answer?
He can't, is what I'm saying.
He can't answer that question.
Yeah, I don't think he has a good enough response to that. Where I actually have the notes that I took because I'm that much. I'm going to bring it up.
Dun.
But we really should end this podcast.
Okay, we'll conclude soon. I like want to get to a point where we can record for like 3 hours.
I mean, we could.
Like that would be so cool to me.
But it's just so long. Who wants to sit and listen for that?
Dude, like Andrew Schultz just switched his format to 3 hours. He used to do like an hour. People are doing that.
People are switching to longer formats?
Longer, yeah. Like from 1 hour to 3 hours.
People have that much to say?
It's just like there's more content, you know?
So long though.
Like even though I never listen to full episodes of like Joe Rogan, usually, unless like this person's really entertaining.
Joe Rogan.
But the fact that it's 3 hours is like nice, you know? There's like a nice amount of content in there.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
You took notes?
Yeah, I took tons of notes. You can't even tell me that Jordan Peterson isn't like the most interesting man in the world.
I don't like him. Sorry.
After that whole thing, that's it?
No, even before I had qualms with him. I talked to you about that. God, after these podcasts, like my throat kills and I can't speak for the next like 5 hours, you know? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying with belief is like at a certain point, like if morals are all in hands of humans, then like that could be dicey territory. And also like I think there's a really big idea and like just being humbled as a human. Like there's something higher than us that's like not human and doesn't have such limited capabilities. That's why I think like canceling out belief. The thing is with belief is like you never know for sure, but the reason why you never know is because we're so limited and because we have such a limited brain. But you never know if that's true because it's all belief. So that's where it's like the catch-22. But yeah, you found it?
Yes.
Okay.
I love what you said, but this is
love.
Okay. I actually wrote this. One of the reasons why I love Sam Harris is because I'm sure he's aware, but the way he talks is like a well-written poem. He builds his sentences in ways that are just like, how are you speaking like that?
Right.
Most people speak like the way I speak is, you know. But this is what he said, okay? His argument distilled: we should be able to agree that having a worldview guided by a continuous, honest engagement with reality, insofar as we can apprehend it, is better than having a worldview that is solidified or anchored to unchanging ideas that were born by people that had none of our tools or present insights. And I just
So he's not really
agree
taking
with
a
him.
stance. He's not taking a stance as to what is true. He's taking a stance as to what he thinks is a better way of living.
He's taking a stance to how you go about,
How you should go about life. He's not necessarily saying that God, it doesn't exist.
but that's if I was making the argument that I believe one way or another about God, that was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I was trying to say
Right.
this, like
living your life.
living like in reality as much as so far as we can apprehend it. That's what he's saying. As much as we know
Right.
now, currently, because
Yeah.
that's what science is. It's a continuous update
Right.
of like what the truth is or what facts are. We don't know. The ultimate fact about life is that we don't know shit. Like we're just gonna have to continuously know, right? Like that's the fact. That's the fact.
And that's where belief starts. That's where logic ends and belief starts.
No, that's not. Wait. What do you mean?
When you get to a point where like, damn, I don't know shit, that's where logic ends and you're like, maybe I believe in something higher. Like belief and logic don't cancel each other out, is my point.
No, but that's not how you go about it. Right. But me abiding by like that by that rule of life where it's like, yeah, I don't know shit, but I know that there's a certain way to know shit. It's not just like throwing up your hands and being like, that's belief.
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you in that point where like you can't just like fully rely on belief, but you can either fully rely on logic because we're so limited and there's so much that we don't know.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. That's
yeah.
Then we're in agreement,
Exactly.
which is annoying. Let's argue.
Like what the heck? But yeah, that's basically we're basically agreeing. We're like we like
we're not really.
No,
We're not really agreeing.
because I'm not saying that you should more take logic on than belief. I just think there has to be a balance. Which is
It's not even logic, I guess, because you're using reason. You're dividing reason and belief, but it's like it can't really even be broken that way. It's such a false.
I mean, you
dichotomy.
can logically get to a place, but this is really my point.
Okay.
You can logically get to a place where you realize logically that you need belief.
You can logically get to a place where you can logically
understand that like we don't know everything and there's something beyond us.
In fact, when you get to that place,
you know what I'm saying? That's logic. Getting to that point.
that is the ultimate state.
Yeah.
Really. That is
And
when
that's
you
where
know
belief
someone has
starts.
been.
So you know
That's
what
not when belief starts. I don't like how you keep saying that. It's not. That's not when belief starts. That's when openness starts.
Like a type
That's
of
when
meat.
everything rectifies.
Belief starts. Like it sounds like a toy, like a dart toy. Anyways, what?
I just don't agree with the way you're phrasing it. It's not when you finally come to the maturity and finally come to the mental state where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, which is really the mental state you should constantly be in.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're not coming to a state of belief. You're coming to a state of openness or
I mean, even talk about practicality, like you have to believe in certain places. Like you have to believe that this brand that you're choosing based on blah, 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 you're basing it off of logic, but you're putting belief at the point where you're like, okay, I'm not an expert in this, so I'm trusting these experts. I'm logically trusting these experts to like have a good skincare routine, let's say.
yes, but you're
You're
believing.
believing in them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's
for sure.
exactly my point. Like, you logically come to the place to say, like, wow, they really know what they're talking about. They're experts.
But that is entirely removed, right? So when we're saying ginormous leaps, or like what your belief entail is having for you to entail in order to have that belief, right? You're believing, let's say, at the end of the day, that you can trust people who abide by the scientific method to understand.
Kaya, I'm using an example. But,
what I'm saying, though, no, but what I'm saying is you have to use those specific examples. You have to understand what you're saying here. You're saying you have to believe in people who go about understanding things in the world through a system of knowledge.
The perfect example for this is parent and child.
Okay.
Because in this case that I'm saying, like, we're old enough to know that they're using the scientific method to know what they know. But let's say a child who's not fully developed yet and they trust their parent, they know who to trust and who not to trust. They're using their brain to figure that out.
Intuitions.
But they believe in their parents. They know that their parents, well, for the most part, like, have the best intentions for them. And what they say is going to do well.
Well, you can't really use the example of a child just because the capacities of a child are extremely limited. And that's why when you're getting too
much into the specifics of the example.
No, I'm not. Because also when you grow up, that's one of the hardest things about growing up is realizing your parents, they really might not have been informed by the best things.
They might have been informed, but like...
Or know what they're talking about even. Not that you know better, but
so
maybe they're just
like... So then the other example.
Oh, okay. But whatever it is.
You're getting too much into the specifics of the example.
I don't think I...
The idea is that, like, forget what's beyond the expert, what they're basing it off of. Okay.
My brother's here.
Damn.
Ziggity.
Okay, fine. So we're going to conclude.
We're just getting to the interesting part.
Yeah, well, we can do like a part 2 of this.
This is why people do 3-hour podcasts, because it's only like hour 2 or hour after
when
it really hits.
So this is what we.
So maybe we should talk an hour before a podcast, and then.
I think we should record all of it. Like, why not? Like, our first hour was still interesting.
Because nobody's going to sit and listen to a 3-hour conversation for hours.
Everyone does it. Please.
Everyone does it, but we're not Joe Rogan and we're not Andrew Schultz.
Like, I want it.
I want to be. Fine. I be Joe Rogan, you be Andrew.
What's up, people? Yo, what's up?
I don't even know how Joe talks.
You know,
I literally
extremely slow. Like, it's just so crazy.
Do you want to try some of that weed? You want to try some of that weed?
When you think
we're monkeys,
all we are is monkeys. And then Andrew Schultz speaks like, "Hey yo, hey yo, that was crazy, bro. Hey yo,
hey yo." What? Oh, it's so annoying.
Okay,
is he 12?
We gotta conclude, but thank you so much for listening to this and watching this. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe.
No.
But we need it. And let us know, like, let us know.
You're talking too close.
Sorry, let us know if there's any other topics that you would like us to talk about, because I think that would be really interesting.
It's my turn next time to come up with a topic, and I'm going to be up at night watching all these documentaries.
You don't have to, but like this, just it was like perfect. Like, it fell into my lap. I was like, wow, we've talked about this.
So great, really, such a great conversation. But we better wrap it up.
Bye.
Peace and love.